Yeah, welcome everyone, Sanju Chia here. So, of course, it's sooner than I expected, but I'm basically here again to talk about Black Clover. Now, if you're new to the channel here, of course, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. This video is the second in a series of videos that I've decided to do, basically covering my experience getting into the Black Clover story and addressing the criticisms that I've seen the series get over the years, which mainly seem to stem from it being a quote-unquote copy or clone or ripoff of Naruto. So of course, be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and cue the intro. Welcome back everyone. So as I said, this video is the second in a series of videos I've decided to do. Whereas the first video, which I'll probably link as a card up here, covered my experience just getting into the series with the first 3 chapters, I'll be covering and discussing my opinion, the usual compare and contrast between Black Clover and Naruto, for chapters 4 to 30 of Black Clover. So there's that. Now, initial impressions getting off these 27 chapters, and this is more so observation, not on the content itself, but over the whole Black Clover franchise, is that I'm actually concerned more so regarding the anime, because the thing is, the more I read Black Clover, I'm trying to understand where this hate and all this criticism is really stemming from, because honestly it doesn't really deserve all the hate and criticism that I've seen it get over the years. So the only thing that's really making sense to me honestly, and this is not a knock against the anime because I haven't gotten into it yet, I haven't checked out a single episode just yet, but I'll try to change that this weekend. But the thing is, the only thing that makes sense to me, that all the hate and criticism mainly must stem from the anime. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And as I said, I'm still going to watch it, I'm still going to get into it, and I'll probably do a video on it in itself when I actually, start watching it, so I can give my impressions in contrast and, just compare it to the manga. But that's the only thing that makes sense to me, because Black Clover is actually pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie, it's good. I mean, there are things in there, just like I mentioned in my previous video, that remind me of Naruto. But there's also one thing that I stressed in the previous video, that series in the same genre really have to differentiate themselves. They need to be nuanced. Yeah, recently learned that word. Yeah, and I think as I continue reading, I still think that Black Clover does a decent job of differentiating itself from its peers, even while throwing a lot of the cliches in your face. So yeah, there's that. So yeah. But yeah, honestly, chapters 4 to 30, honestly, I've been loving the experience so far. And how I know I love it is that when I hit chapter 22, 23, like, and I said like, yes, Asta, when Asta defended Noelle and just declared that he's going to be the Wizard King to all the captains and everything, like, I literally just said yes. Yeah, like, that's what we know. So man, I enjoy this series. So honestly, but to get a sense of order for this little discussion and review, because there's quite a bit to talk about concerning this is 27 chapters in comparison to the only 3 chapters that I read. So strap yourselves in, of course, leave a like and subscribe, appreciate the support. So chapters, let me see if I can do this in sections based on memory now. Chapters 4 to 6. Now, I know these sections basically introduce us to the Black Bulls, and honestly my first impressions is that I like them. Obviously we haven't gotten too much on them so far. It's been kind of surface level, kind of vague, kind of withholding some information. It's not too in your face, but I love how all the characters seem to have this, they're very quirky. if I'm being honest, they stand out. Of course, we know that Black Bulls are seemingly seen as the worst squad, and obviously, what better squad for Asta, who's trying to prove the point that he can become Wizard King and prove the point that his persons in his social class can become something in society. So what better? And I think we're good. Yeah, sorry about that cut there, people. Run at this space there, which is wild. But anyway, getting back into it. So as I was saying, having Ansa being part of the Black Bulls, I thought was a pretty good decision, considering that the Black Bulls are quote-unquote viewed as the worst Magic Knights group, and what better group for Asta, who's trying to prove his social standing or prove that persons in his social class can become something in society. So I kind of found the decision that him ending up in the Black Bulls was more of a re more of a kind of support for what he's trying to do against the whole theme of the series, which is classism. So I thought it was a pretty good move. Of course, when in the span of chapters 4 to 6, we're introduced to Noelle Silva, which honestly, my first impressions of her. Alright, so the thing is, since this whole series of Black Clover videos, I am contrasting and comparing, or essentially addressing the criticisms that the series gets from, comparing it to Naruto, which is where most of the criticisms stem from. So, of course, I'm going to actually contrast and compare Noelle and Sakura in this video. In a nutshell, yes, there's no comparison. I do like Noelle better so far, you see me? So, yeah. But we're introduced to her characters, and funny enough, like my expectations for her were like quickly thrown outside the window because, for lack of a better term, I thought she was gonna be like this stuck-up girl that the main character was going to change, and then through the main character's actions, which still kind of happened, I thought that her sense of morality and dealing with people would change. That's what I was expecting, but surprisingly enough, like that expectation was quickly thrown outside the window. For the most part, she does seem like, well, nothing seem. We quickly find out that she's a very multi-layered character. There's much more to her character than just that, which I'll get more into in the Sakura versus, Noelle part. Let me just see if I can just skim through and give my impressions on all of what happened up to chapter 30. Now, in terms of the first mission in Saucy Village, that's how you say it, right? I liked it. It kind of reaffirmed why Asta needs to become the Wizard King to help out persons in the Outer Ring who seem to have low magic potential, low magic power, who are essentially viewed as trash, essentially, because in this world where magic is everything, as they say, it's understandable why they'd be viewed as quote-unquote trash. And that's the impression that I get, or that's what we get based on how the antagonist for this little mini section here, Heat, that's how you pronounce his name, right? Forgive me, I kind of read the this cancellation, so I might not get the names correct until I start the anime. So yeah, that's what I kind of got from that section there. And of course, Asta himself reaffirms it with himself. This is why he needs to become Wizard King, which I actually liked. Of course, we established the means for growth in this series as well, which I was kind of concerned about. That, as well as Asta's ability to nullify magic, but I'll talk about that more in the dungeon section a little bit, the first dungeon. But as I said, I love the fighting in this section. The only thing I was kind of iffy about was the fact that I kind of felt like, based on the vibe I was getting off Heat, he seemed a little battle hardened. The way that Asta and Manga defeated him, I was kind of expecting like Heat to like see through that, but I guess it is what it is. And of course, it does set things up for to show that there's something or someone acting behind the scenes. So there's a mystery, little breadcrumbs for them, leaving them for me to actually get more invested in. Of course, we do get Noelle starting to control her magic, which of course, again, I'll talk more on in Noelle versus Sakura section. But for the most part, for this first mission, I actually liked it. The pacing really does seem to be the best friend of the series, because it really gets into establishing the potential for a lot of these characters, especially Noelle, honestly. Because as I said, my expectations of her initially are thrown out of the water very quickly, and it's a good thing. Now, in terms of like the first dungeon, with the whole conflict against Martz, trying to find the treasure before the Golden Dawn, etc., etc. One thing I was kind of concerned about, based on the rules of growth that we saw in Saucy Village with Noelle, it kind of felt like they were kind of setting things up for having a lot of power friendship moments in this series. But I was glad when reading this portion of the manga that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case at all. That, and the fact that Asa, who in a world where magic is everything, having the main character be able to negate magic seemed like it was making him OP from the start. But I was glad to see that isn't necessarily the case. He can still be defeated, and it works. Yuki Tabata has crafted the story in a way that makes it be Asta just isn't OP. I like it. He still has to put in work, which falls in line with his character, which is good. I really like that. Now, the next thing is we get I like that we're getting more in depth in terms of how the structure of the world is. Between Solstice Village and this, we learn that there are other kingdoms. We know the structure of the Clover Kingdom to a degree, you know, the inner ring, middle ring, outer ring, all of that. It's just pretty good because it kind of sets up things for me as a reader or watcher, because of course most of you watching this have already caught up to Black Clover. You're up to date, I would imagine. I just like that. I just like knowing that there are things happening whether the main character does anything or not. So having the presence of multiple kingdoms, X place, Y place, it really sets up for things up for the world to feel alive, and I really like that. So there was that. Now the rivalry between Yuno and Asa, as I said in my previous video, is that I really love how refreshingly good it is. Just the respect between these two characters. Like as we go on, it becomes more subtle, I think, in terms of how Asta and Yuno individually express their respect for each other through defending each other to other characters. But that's even better. Like it's just refreshingly good. And of course, just comparing to Naruto and Sasuke, I just love the direction it's going with these two characters striving for their goal of Wizard King, but still remaining respectful to each other. At the end of the day, they're still brothers, not blood brothers, of course, but they grew up together. And you know, the time that they spent growing up together, it's reflecting how they deal with each other right now, which I like. Of course, characters like Martha, which was in the dungeon, I'm not gonna lie, it really reminded me of Naruto, the whole Miss Village, where we had the Genin graduation exam being characters killing each other to actually graduate, the last one standing. And it was basically the same thing with Marth here in these chapters. It really reminded me of that. His character itself kind of does remind me of Gaara as well. But as I keep saying, I think it's nuanced, or it differentiates itself enough to stand on its own, so I can't knock it all the same. Of course, the fights in this section, as I said, it serves as a means to solidify that the main character still has to work for and actually essentially put in the work to get things done. Even though he is pretty OP since he can negate magic, but he's not invincible, and I think that's what this set of chapters really established for me, and I really liked it. Of course, we introduced some more Golden Dawn members who throughout the chapters gain a respect for Asta, which is pretty good, because more and more Asta's training, I like how it isn't the fact that he trained his body up isn't negated, and we're kind of almost constantly reminded of it, and it also plays a critical role in his fights going forward. It really shows that his hard work wasn't for nothing, so that was another plus as well. Really love that. Of course, we're introduced some rules where magic is concerned in terms of elements. We get a power up for Yuno and Asta. Asta gets a second sword, which seems like it's able to copy magic. Of course, the sword itself, we eventually learn that it can absorb magic as well. Well, I guess that still falls in line to be the same thing. So there was that. Of course, gets a new, gets his little pixie spell thingy. but I like the world building that we have here to find out that there are some areas that are unexplored by various countries, and of course it leads to conflict with other countries to obtain resources. That was pretty good. So all in all, the first dungeon, really liked it, really set things up, kind of put my expectations or my concerns to rest regarding the main character and the whole leveling up system. So there was that, all while still making the other characters feel relevant within that story, because that's the thing. I see that they're trying to level up Yuno and Asta, but at the same time they still maintain the importance and utility of the other characters, which is good. Because that was part 2 of Naruto's or Shippuden's biggest problem, honestly, in terms of like neglecting the side cast. So we kind of go from there to meeting the Wizard King again, who like I didn't mention this before, but his initial appearance in, what was it, Kiga Village, I think, when he revealed that he was actually the old lady that Asta helped out, yo, that caught me totally off guard. Honestly, like I really love the character of the Wizard King so far. He's it's almost trollish, and I love that. Like, there's a certain charm about his character that I like. That are just generally speaking for me. There's a thing about characters that are in a high position of leadership that have this comedic aspect to them. Also, for me personally, it easily draws me into them. So I really love his character, and the fact that he can be, well, naturally since he's a leader, he can be stern and to the point as well. Because we go from here to the award ceremony where, you know, Asta, Yuno, Mimosa, Vermilion, Klaus, yeah, they all meet the Wizard King, and I really like the exchange that they had there between the Wizard King and Asta. Well, basically the entire group there, especially when they asked him how do they become Wizard King, or what's important in becoming Wizard King, and of course the Wizard King says like, yo, it's just results, brother. Just results. You know what I mean? Which I thought was good. Of course, as I said, it goes into the section where we meet a lot of the captains and some of their squad members. And probably my favorite moment in this stretch of chapters where Asta defends Noelle. Yo, that was just so rewarding. And this is how I know I'm really enjoying the series. And that I just feel like the criticisms just aren't warranted. Well, to a degree, they're warranted. It's expected, it's only natural. But like any hit the series is getting, I just don't think it deserves it, honestly. And probably just it just goes back to my statement about me being concerned about the anime at the beginning of the video there. So yeah. Of course, I'm stuck in the middle of the whole zombie apocalypse, quote unquote, so I'm not finished with the current story arc. But other than that, characters like, say, Fuego Leon, definitely love them. His statement to Noelle in the current fight, that kind of cemented him as a next favorite of mine, because he kind of stands in opposition to the theme, or basically the whole idea of classism. He stands as a voice of reason within that whole dominant mindset of the characters within the series, similar to Yami. So definitely loving his character so far, especially like with lines like, yo, if Asta and his crew are here, that means they basically got the results, they deserve to be here. So, are even his statements to Noelle, where he was just paraphrasing here, but where basically was saying, yo, if there's nothing wrong with being weak, but staying weak is the problem. So stuff like that. And I find it funny that like, a lot of characters just seem like they want to make Asta their rival. So that was funny as well. But all in all, I'll say is that, yo, I just don't understand the hate that the series gets. It's not bad. Yeah, it is cliche. It is used a lot of the tropes, but I think the pacing really allows you to get into it and not. You don't necessarily have to, because at the end of the day, you know where you're getting. You know what you're getting with these tropes, with these cliches. So the pacing kind of just puts all of those issues aside. I'd say, and those cliches and tropes probably aren't even necessarily issues, because they're what really draw people in for the shonen genre. So yeah, but anyway, to the end of this video now, Noelle versus Sakura. I think one of the biggest talking points that I really need to talk about for this video is the development or the use of a female protagonist, well, supporting protagonist. She's a main character. So Sakura versus Noelle. Now, honestly, as I said, a lot of the expectations I had from Noelle when I just saw her have been thrown out the window. She's a very multi-layered character, I would say, and I'm not completely sold on her just yet. I like her, but I'm not completely sold, because so far I think Yuki, based on where I am, has set up a lot of things where Noelle is concerned, considering that she's royalty, but at the same time she can't control her magic 100%, and she's in the quote-unquote worst Magic Knights group. She kinda, it's like her existence is almost like a contradiction based on what the royals within the story think a royal should be. And I think the setup for her character is so linked to the theme of the series, or linked to what the main character is trying to accomplish, that her importance to the series from a thematic standpoint has been solidified essentially, and if I were to not get payoff with her character, it would almost be a crime. Now comparing her to Sakura, based on the pacing of Black Clover, a lot of the setup has already been done for, I'd say, Noelle's character. But with Kishimoto, he played the long ball where part 1 is concerned, setting up Sakura's character. And up until this sword fight, some of the payoff that I feel persons wanted with Sakura's character was happening, but after that, it was just dropped by Kishimoto. Now, in favor of, you know, the problems that Shippuden faced, where you were focusing on Naruto and Sasuke mainly, with the Uchihas essentially, and a lot of the side casts got neglected. So the thing is, what I'm loving about the development or the use of the female protagonist in Black Clover is that she's so linked to the theme of the series, as I said, is that she's royalty, right? And by right, royalty are supposed to just be born with this crazy amount of magical potential, but at the same time, she has that magical potential, but she can't really control it. She isn't living up to the standards of the royals. No, what this does for me from a thematic standpoint is that it's saying that, yo, just because you're a royal doesn't mean you won't have to work hard. It doesn't always mean that you're going to get things easy. So it's almost like it's throwing dirt in the face of the idea that having these different social classes necessarily means anything, because if a royal herself has to be working so hard, then this whole idea of classism probably doesn't make any sense. So I feel like with her being a supporting female protagonist, her lore and her backstory falls hand in hand with what Asta's trying to achieve. So it's almost impossible for her not to have a dynamic or very important role or payoff in the story, which is what I'm saying. There's so much setup with her character in this stretch of 27 chapters that I just can't see her falling to the wayside like a lot of female protagonists have in the past, specifically with Naruto. So I love the setup so far, love her character. Well, as I said, I like her, but still waiting on some payoff. Which, based on how I see how everybody talks about her, I'm more like going to get the payoff. So, yeah. But her hand in hand with Asta seem like they're going to demolish the thematic objective of bringing down classism within the story. And I think that's how you really tie in a supporting female character. Have her have relevance to the theme that you're trying to do. And granted, probably that's not really a necessity, because as I said, Sakura herself could have been an amazing character. Granted, in recent times in the Boruto era, she's gotten a lot of love, but for the most part, part 1, part 2 Naruto, wasted potential. Specifically part 2. Because part 1 was mostly just set up for a character, but Yuki Tabata has basically set the foundation, made this setup for Noelle's character, and I'm just waiting for the payoff. So yeah, but anyway, this video is getting pretty long, so all I'll say is that Black Clover chapters 4 to 30, love them. Don't understand the hate that the series gets, so it must be something with the anime. So yeah, but all in all, that's all I have for this one. I think I've rambled on enough. Just let me know what you think, people. Honestly. So I'll see you guys in the next one. If there's certain sections of this video that you want me to like kind of talk more on length, more well, I guess more in depth on, let me know as well, because I feel like I kind of rushed through a lot of things, even though the video is like over 20 minutes long. But I think I kind of touched on everything I really needed to touch on as well. So yeah. But anyway, Sanjay Uchiha, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next Black Clover video.